Okay, the purpose of this video is just to kind of give an overview for some settings and describe some changes made to add bus 5 and bus 6 for the purpose of streaming. One objective was to have an independent volume that could be set hotter than the front of house volume, so that you can essentially do what you want to do when you're mixing for the sanctuary and not have any impact or limitations on what you're sending to the stream. So another objective, as described by a tutorial that I found, was to be able to establish a method for one person, one sound tech, to simultaneously do the front of house mix as well as the streaming mix with whatever automated functionality that you can establish with that. So some effects were added, again, to make it sound as realistic as possible, so that when you hear mics in a big room, your brain kind of thinks of natural reverb, and so we will add just a tiny bit of subtle reverb as part of this. So jumping right to it, here is our stream bus 5 and 6, and it's right next to our other monitors. And as I was showing this to Hank earlier, he commented, you know, Art, this is kind of just like setting up a new set of monitors. And I said, you know what, that is a perfect way to describe what's going on here. So as I describe all of this, just think of a monitor mix. It's not being sent to the front of house, it's being sent through bus 5 and 6 and outputted in the back. I think it's outputs 9 and 11 going to the stream box. We'll talk more about that. So the way this is intended to work is do your front of house worship like you always would. In this case, you can see this is how we were, but I don't want the buzz from the acoustic guitar. But this is what we set up today. We had an acoustic guitar, electric guitar, we had the clavinova, and we had Davis on drums. And so this represented the front of house mix. And this is what we did on vocals. We had 3 vocals, and this is how I had the wireless mic for Pastor Adam. So again, thinking like you have a monitor mix, you would go over here and you'd hit the select for stream left and stream right. And when I hit this sends on fader button, you'll see everything jump up very close to 0. And that's very intentional. It was set up that way so that whatever you did as the techie to create your house mix, you automatically inherit. So you don't have to create a whole mix from scratch. Rather, everything at 0 gives you the exact mix that you already set up. You put your headphones on, and then when you solo for stream left and stream right. Those 2 buses are linked together. When you have your headphones on, you will hear what will be sent out through the stream. And at that point on, when you have your sends on fader engaged, you can decide to either raise or lower something. So anything above 0 is going to boost. You can see in this example that Hank's mic was boosted maybe 3 dB. Diane's mic was boosted a couple dB, and over here Aaron's mic was boosted maybe 3 dB. If we flip our input 17 to 32, you'll notice that I actually brought the snare down some. And it's just to taste, right? You put your headphones on and things are gonna sound different. And you're like, wow, I think I need to bring the snare down. Or, hey, I think I need to bring the overheads down a little bit. So anything you see below the 0 is a cut. And over here, anything that you see raised above 0 boosts the signal, and you get the mix to your taste. And the next thing you think about is your overall volume of what you're sending. What I noticed today is when the band was going, I was somewhere between 0 and -5. This is the levels of what you're sending out. But as soon as we were doing the message, the sermon, I got input from others that it was way too quiet. At which point, you know, I brought it up to 0, and then I brought it up to 5, and I think at some point I even brought it up to +10. So there's a learning curve here, and there's some more to it that I'm still learning, and I'm sure we're all going to be learning, but I just very slowly boosted it up when I heard that the mix wasn't loud enough. And I was able to preview with an iPad, and I used the headphones, and that way you can step out of the sanctuary and actually get a pretty good mix of what's going on. So let's talk a little bit more about the effects. If we press this effects button, and let's see here, if I scroll left back to home, you see over there it says home. Let's see here. I created effects 3, effects 4, and effects 8. All of these 3 effects were recommended by the tutorial. And the guy was stating in his opinion the vintage reverb is the best that comes out of the box with the X32s and M32s. And he also really liked the delay plus chamber reverb. And he assigns every channel a tiny bit of the vintage reverb, with the exception of a few channels that he gives a little delay in chamber, and he believes that thickens up vocals, and he also puts the electric guitar through this effect. And the precision limiter he puts together to at the very end of the signal chain, so that after we've applied EQ and compression, and we've got a certain signal coming in, that it will actually squash the signal so that it's more presentable. There's less variation, sort of like you would broadcast on a radio. And so if we toggle over there to, that's the settings we have for the limiter. You'll notice here that the input gain is 5 dB boost, and that was recommended also. And so a word of caution to you techies, when you're listening to your front of house worship, right? And you go like this, you're gonna hear a pretty healthy boost in volume. And there's a way to counteract that. I will attempt to dial that in the next few days, but just a word of caution that when you press this button, you might actually want to lower your headphones volume a little bit. All right, but it was intentional to try and boost the volume because the tutorial indicated that many times folks are trying to send as much signal as they can without being ridiculous. And this was, through his experimentation, a good amount. So I think that really does it. There's more I can say, but I can't think of it now. I just want to reiterate, okay, with the faders off, you'll notice that there's nothing going on here. But it's when you hit the sends on fader that you can see that this effects return is actually engaged for the reverb. And then when you go over to reverb and delay, you'll see that fader or slider up, right? And then as soon as you hit that, it's down. No big deal. I think I've said enough, and maybe if you guys have some questions, we can all listen to the tutorial, which was about 30 minutes, and I had to play that thing over about 20 times, honestly, to figure out everything he was saying. So I hope this is helpful, so that when you guys are doing your turn on Sunday morning, you'll be able to deliver a good front of house mix and also a good blend for the streaming mix at a hot enough level. All right, see you guys.